Islam because I'm beating Abu Bakr Radiyallahu Anhu, the greatest person in the Ummah. I'm beating him today and giving the donation. He said, I went there and I gave it to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam asked me, how much did you leave for your family, O Umar? Umar Radiyallahu Anhu said very proudly, I said, Ya Rasulullah, I brought half of my wealth and other half I left it for my family. Abu Bakr Radiyallahu Anhu was after Umar Radiyallahu Anhu in the line to give it to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. When he passed his wealth to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and he gave his donation to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam asked him, Abu Bakr, what did you leave for your family? Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu said, Ya Rasulullah, I left the name of Allah and the name of His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam for them. That's enough for them. Otherwise, everything else that they had, I brought it to you, Ya Rasulullah. Not a single penny, not a single date at his home. He brings everything and gives it out to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And yet the reply is not, Ya Rasulullah, I brought everything. He said, I left the name of Allah and the left of His Messenger, the name of His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam for my family, and that's enough for them. Subhanallah. There has to be that iman, that this is enough for us. With all of what we have, and we don't even spend it in the path of Allah, I'm not even saying that we should spend everything in the path of Allah, but with everything that we have, yet we don't have that trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What will happen to me tomorrow? How will I pay my bills tomorrow? I'm totally dependent on what I have in my hand and what I can get tomorrow, but not on the one who's giving me and who's my provider. The difference in relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The difference in relationship of our iman and faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How much trust we have in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And really for us, the believers, the people who believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and know the qualities of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, know the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what makes us turn away from that great God and turn our face to someone else in the world? One of the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Ar-Razzaq. This is our iman, that He is Ar-Razzaq. And that simply means if it is an attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no one else can be Ar-Razzaq in the world. If He is Rahman and He is Rahim, there is no other Rahman and Rahim in the world. Because the attributes of Allah means they belong to Him alone. And He's the highest in that attribute. He's the main one who has these qualities and His attributes. Turning away from that Razzaq and trying to find rizq anywhere else, it's really not knowing who's our Allah. I don't want to use any other word. If we think about it ourselves, it's much more than that. If our children will turn away from us and tell us that the other people are favoring me more than you do. You had an argument, someone else was favoring your son, and you were opposing your son for that subject, for that matter. Later on he gets upset, he says, I don't want to stay with you, I'm going to live somewhere else because the other person was favoring me more than you. Imagine what we would say to our children at that time. How would we try to remind them all the things that we have done for them, that son, you were wrong at that time. That's the only reason I said you're wrong. Otherwise, this is what I have done for you. And turning away from our Razzaq, subhanahu wa ta'ala, and going to someone else, trusting someone else, it's really shamelessness. And really, if we look at it from the other side, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guaranteed one thing to all the human beings. وَمَا مِن دَابَّةٍ فِي الْأَرْضِ إِلَّا عَلَى اللَّهِ رِزْقُهَا. He guaranteed the sustenance that every human being will get it. But the a'mal, the good deeds, He asks us for it. He's not asking us for any rizq, for any food, for any wealth. He says, I need from you good deeds, and I will give you this. Subhanallah, the thing that He's asking us that He needed from us and He wants to see it from us, we are not providing it. And the thing that He says, I'll give it to you anyway, we run after it. It's just the difference in faith and iman. So Abu Bakr Radiyallahu Anhu, he brought everything that he had in his home. That was the same 9th year when for the first time in the history of Islam, Hajj was performed according to the Sharia of Islam. That was the 9th year of Hijrah. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam could not go for that Hajj. And therefore he sent Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu as the Amir for Hajj. So the first Hajj that was performed in the history of Islam, Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu was the Amir for that Hajj. He was leading that Hajj on behalf of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Every step proving now, as we are getting closer to the 11th year of the Hijrah, which was the year of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam's death, every step is proving that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is assigning a person for the Khilafah. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is giving the Ummah the hint that this is the Amir. This is the person I have chosen to be the Amir. When I was not able to go for Hajj on my behalf, I'm sending him as the Amir for Hajj. So Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu led that Hajj. As I said, this was in the 9th year of Hijrah. And again, I would like to remind, and I'm not going to go into those details at this time, that remember this was the first Hajj that was performed under the laws of Islam, according to the Sharia of Islam. When we try to connect the Eid with the Hajj, for 7 years Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, from the 2nd year of the Hijrah, he was performing the Eid in Medina Munawwara. But in Islam, up to that time, there was no Hajj established. In the 9th year of Hijrah, that was the first Hajj that was performed according to the laws of Islam and under the instructions of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. In the 10th year of Hijrah, we all know that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam went for Hajj, and that was the first and the last Hajj in Islam for Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, which is called Hajjatul Wada'. And we will leave those details also for this year. Now, after Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam returned from that Hajj, we know that Hajj is in the month of the Hijjah. Then comes the month of Muharram and the month of Safar. During the month of Safar, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam once, he went to Jannatul Baqi', the cemetery of Medina Munawwara. He made dua for the people of Jannatul Baqi', Allahumma gfirli ahli Baqi' al-Gharqad. Ya Allah, forgive all the people that are in this Baqi'. It was a night time when he came back home. Aisha radiyallahu anha had a very severe headache. And she was saying, Wa ra'sa, oh, my head is hurting. It's very painful. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam at that time said to Aisha radiyallahu anha, Bal ana wa ra'sa. But Aisha, you don't know about my headache that I have at this time. It's more severe than yours. That was the beginning of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam's illness that led to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam's death. It was in the month of Safar. As Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam